Welcome back to another episode of Believe in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell here with my co-host Seth Dowdle. We've just got a really random episode for you all here today. We're going to just see where the winds take us. We have a little bit of a structure about where we're going to start things off, but after that, we're just gonna go.
Just gonna see what happens. There's a lot of news, a lot of stuff that happened in TCU Athletics over the past week or so that we might not have touched on the previous episode. So we're gonna get to that. Obviously, there's some breaking news for the TCU football team that we'll talk about. But other than that, just kind of vibes flow, see where we go.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Just announced a couple days ago that TCU's former offensive coordinator Kendal Briles officially leaving for the South Carolina job. We talked about it a couple days ago in our previous episode about our thoughts on the potential departure, and now it is official. So obviously it was time. It happened. Now he goes back to team up with Jeremiah Donati, the athletic director at South Carolina. Now, their fans, supposedly, Seth told me their fans were really excited about the hire. Obviously, they had a really bad season for football a year ago. So maybe anything is a win for them at this point.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll wait and see how that goes for them. They're kind of completely revitalizing that offense. And it's kind of like a make it or break it year for Shane Beamer. So he's trying to, kind of just press all the right buttons, and maybe Kendal Briles is the right button for him offensively. He also took along with him a TCU's assistant offensive line coach, is coming along to South Carolina with Kendal Briles. As far as I know, that's the only other poach in terms of the coaching staff heading to South Carolina. We'll see when the portal opens in a couple of weeks whether there's any TCU players that follow or just go anywhere else for that matter. But interested to see how that goes for South Carolina. It's another SEC offense that runs the veer and shoot. There are four kind of off the top of my head that kind of run that veer and shoot. Wait, no. Yeah, four. There's four of them now that run it explicitly, and there's probably five that run it a little bit also as well. So interested to see. I think that SEC defenses kind of have that thing on lock, at least at how like the base structure of it. So we'll see how he can adapt to the gauntlet that is the Southeastern Conference.
It's a big step up to as far as the level of defensive play that Briles is going to go up against. And I mean, this was a South Carolina team that only won one conference game against Kentucky. Then they should have beaten Texas A&M, but when you celebrate like you won the game at halftime, probably not a good thing.
Admittedly, up 31-0, I'd do the same.
Yeah, I would too. Your team has really been bad, and you're like, we're kicking the number 3 teams in the country. We're kicking their butts right now. I'm gonna get a little fired up. I'm gonna get my fans into it. And then you proceed to just absolutely choke that lead away.
I don't think they scored another point, right?
Final was 31-30. So
Golly.
No, that was a catastrophic collapse by the Gamecocks. But now they have a new offensive coordinator, Kendal Briles. If you're expecting your team to not blow a 30-3 lead with that offensive coordinator, I just would warn you that that very well could happen if TCU fans know well what a blown lead looks like. So I wouldn't get your hopes too far up the ladder there if you're expecting leads to be safe with your new offensive coordinator. I don't want to take too many shots, but it's a fair shot.
Yeah, and like we talked about it with Kendal, and also just like that offensive scheme. I know it's different from school to school. Obviously, it's not the exact same as it was when Art Briles was kind of revolutionizing it, at all the places that he has been. Um, but like Mississippi State runs that offense with Jeff Lebby, and they could not hold them to leads to save their lives. Tennessee does, like, I think, the best job of kind of like using run and pass within it, but they also have had issues holding on to leads. South Florida, Alex Golish, right? They had that big game against Memphis where they choked away the game because they couldn't salt it away. He's at Auburn now. So we're going to see this kind of same offense. Lane Kiffin kind of has a lot of the same principles in his offense at LSU. So we're going to see this offense in a lot of different places in the SEC, and we'll see how he adapts to that because these defenses, as I said earlier, are familiar with it. But they're also familiar within the Big 12, and he was able to have some success as well there. But the level of athlete, I think, is a little bit different, with the exception of Texas Tech, but TCU didn't play Texas Tech this year. So we'll just have to see. Well, that's all I'm going to say about it. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, there were some great times. There were some bad times as well. So who knows how it'll pan out in South Carolina. But we're not talking about Kendal Briles anymore because he's no longer in Fort Worth. Who is in Fort Worth? Gordon Sammis, UConn's former offensive coordinator, has announced yesterday that he will be named officially the offensive coordinator at TCU. I think Pete Thamel of ESPN was the first to hop on that news, and it comes pretty quickly. Just a couple days after his departure, they find their new offensive coordinator, and it comes from UConn. Seth, were you kind of surprised by how quick this hire came?
No, I'm not. I believe that they've been looking for a while. I think the timeline, if you're not privy to the timeline, Kendal Briles' contract expired at the end of this season, and according to the Stephen Johnson of the Fort Worth Star Telegram, he reported that it was either going to be a contract extension or he was going to be asked pretty much to pursue employment elsewhere, and the latter occurred. He was kind of pushed out the door, is what it looked like, but that was also because his contract was expiring and they just weren't going to renew it, and so they said, "Hey, just go find a job somewhere else." So I believe that TCU has been looking, even with Kendal Briles still on staff. And if you listen to Sonny Dykes' press conference on Tuesday, they asked him, "Hey, is Kendal gone?" He was like, "Nothing's official yet," but if you read between the lines, he was saying, "Yeah, he's gone." So like we're looking, and so they've probably been looking for a couple of days, maybe even longer than that at this point, and they land on Gordon Sammis, who is the offensive coordinator at UConn. He's currently the interim head coach at UConn, actually, because Jim Mora, the head coach at UConn, left for Colorado State, and so it sounds like, I haven't heard anything official on this, and that might change after you hear this, that he's probably going to coach UConn in their bowl game later this month as their interim head coach, and then come down to Fort Worth. I do not expect him to call plays in the Alamo Bowl. I just want to make that clear. But yeah, we'll talk about it more. I'm intrigued by this hire a lot, Zion. I think it's very interesting.
It is very interesting, and I'm right with you there. I think this isn't just like probably just 1 or 2 days, and they've landed on this guy. They've probably been looking for a little while, but yeah, it definitely. I was curious for sure. That was my first reaction, was curious, because admittedly I did not know who Gordon Sammis was because I'm not very familiar with UConn football, nor are many people probably here in the state of Texas watching UConn football. Maybe basketball, men's or women's basketball, sure. Probably not football. But this is a team that's had some pretty good seasons. I'm going to reference Seth's article, by the way, here on TCU on SI. So go check it out.
Or go click on it for at least 30 seconds. Just let it sit for 30 seconds, and then you can exit out of it.
Yeah, you could do that as well. So over the last 2 seasons, UConn's 18-7. This year, I believe they went 9-3. They defeated the ACC champs in Duke. So
they did. That is a fact. That is not a joke. That is a fact.
That is literally a fact. But definitely the most eye-popping thing, he's been nominated for the Broyles Award the past 2 seasons, which honors college football's top assistant coach. And he's produced some pretty good offenses over there at UConn. Um, Seth, what are kind of been your impressions, your takeaways with Gordon Sammis?
Yeah, so I was not super familiar with him. I knew who he was because had watched a couple of UConn games, at least, just had my eye on him, especially that Duke one. I was actually very intrigued about that game when it was happening, I don't know, about a month ago, because everyone was joking, hey, could Duke go to the ACC title game? And then they lost to UConn. They're like, oh, Duke can still go. But uh, what I've kind of gleaned is from all my research and from hearing what other people have reported about him is like this is a guy who has a super high reputation when it comes to offensive linemen. And I think that's where I want to start. There's a lot of other things to talk about when it comes to Gordon Sammis, but is he was an offensive lineman at Virginia. He's coached offensive line at places like William and Mary, Lafayette, VMI, Columbia, and he also coached offensive line at UConn for 2 seasons before he was named the offensive coordinator 2 years ago. And he's produced, NFL draft talent at UConn. They've had 2 players selected in the NFL draft in the past 2 years out of UConn, and I think that is super duper impressive. Uh, UConn is not a place that when you think of NFL caliber players that they're going to be coming out of there, especially out of the Northeast, just in general, not even just UConn, right? Just like the Northeast of the country, producing high level talent, and he was able to develop at least 2 offensive linemen that were drafted over the past 2 seasons. For reference, TCU's only had 2 offensive linemen drafted since 2022. And both of those players were already on the roster when Sonny Dykes got here. That's Steve Avila and Brandon Coleman. Um, so I think that is super impressive for him to do that. And hoping, with this hire, right, Sonny Dykes saw that the offensive line was a weakness and is bringing someone in where that's their strength. And I think that that's super admirable for Sonny Dykes to recognize that and to bring him in to hopefully kind of rectify that and alleviate those woes heading into, this next season and potentially beyond. But that's my first kind of like when I look at him and I look at his accolades, his experience on the offensive line and what he's done tells me that this TCU offense is going to have a little bit of a refreshed identity in 2026.
It will, and that does fire me up because I think I've said this multiple times. That's where you build a successful football team is up front on the offensive line. Uh, so many of the best teams have quality players up front, and TCU's been lacking in that area to say the least. Now, towards the end of the year, the offensive line was playing a little bit better, but you bring in a guy who's, like you said, has produced NFL talent at a program that does not have the same resources as TCU. Like
Not even close.
not even in the same ballpark. So I hope that that's where they start to head into that changed identity. I hope that that's what it sounds like with Sonny Dykes and Gordon Sammis, that they can go get recruits some better offensive line and be able to develop them and hopefully turn them into NFL players. That is certainly a good sign that TCU fans should really take away from this is hopefully a new identity, being able to run the football. They did a really good job at UConn being able to run the football last year. Overall, their offense was really good. They scored 35 points per game, which ranks 16th in the nation, averaged 445 yards per contest, and they ran the football very well. Their leading rusher, Cam Edwards, ran for 1,300 yards. He's intending to enter the transfer portal when it opens on January 2nd. I know some TCU fans were wondering maybe is he going to follow? I have no idea. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel pretty good with Jeremy Payne being our lead running back next season, assuming he intends to stay. But it's definitely something worth to monitor. It's hard to not pass over a guy that ran for 1,300 yards last year. It's definitely something they could consider. He could also follow and go to Colorado State with Jim Mora, but you never know.
That is, yeah, either or, right? But if I don't know. I'm not going to try and give him career advice. I just will say this: UConn fan reaction to both those people leaving, Gordon Sammis and also running back Cam Edwards, extremely like, please don't go. At least for Cam Edwards, I saw a lot of responses to that being like, please come back to Stores. You are a UConn legend. Like we really love you and we want you to come back. And it's kind of the same thing with Gordon Sammis. Like, thank you so much for what you've done here. Good luck in Fort Worth. It is almost the complete opposite reaction to how how people felt about Kendal Briles going to South Carolina here at TCU. So I just find that a little bit interesting. And I just wanted to comment on your what you said, kind of as an aside almost, but like about the resources at UConn and how vast of a difference that is. It is vastly different. For those unfamiliar, I mean, UConn basketball is obviously everyone knows about them. They're in the Big East, you know, which is a power conference in basketball. UConn football is an independent, one of only two independents in FBS alongside Notre Dame, and they do not get nearly the same treatment as Notre Dame does as an independent. They don't have a TV deal with NBC. They don't have any of that type of stuff. So they're kind of flying blind. And for a lot of this can be attributed to Jim Mora. Obviously he's the head coach, leading them to back-to-back 9-win seasons. But I think that the offense under Gordon Sammis, you have to attribute a lot of the success that UConn's had over the past 2 years to him as well. So I don't want to, direct credit away from Jim Mora. I think he's an incredible football coach. But I think Gordon Sammis deserves a ton of flowers as well. And it's a big reason why Sonny Dykes is entrusting him with the reins of the offense heading into 2026. And we can talk about this a little bit, Zion. It's an intriguing hire for many reasons that we've talked about, but one of which is he's not from Texas and he's not off the air raid tree either. Like, this is like Sonny Dykes is going outside of his usual sphere of influence to hire an offensive coordinator, an offensive brain, which I find really interesting. I don't know a direct reason for it. We can infer or imply or, kind of just guess on why. I just think it's really intriguing that he would do this at this juncture of his TCU tenure.
I do too. I mean, it's definitely because if there's one thing about Texas and Texas football, they love the people that are within that realm. And if you're in the state of Texas, you like to stay internal with your options. But I don't know if this is true. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here. Did Andy Avalos ever coach in the state of Texas?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I mean, he was the head coach at Boise State
Yeah,
before, right? I'm looking this up right now.
because I knew Andy Avalos came from Boise State. I don't know where he's been
No,
previously.
I mean Andy Avalos played at Boise State, first of all, and then was the defensive line coach at Nebraska. Kearney was a GA at Sacramento State, and then he spent his
Shut
entire
up.
coaching career at Boise State. He was the DC at Oregon for 2 seasons before being the
That's where
head
it
coach at
was.
Boise State. So no, like that is also, and it's a little bit different on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of TCU coaching, or not Texas coaching, like when you think of like the legends of the profession that have come out of Texas,
It's
it's a
been
lot of offensive
offense.
stuff, a lot of
Mhm.
offense, not a lot of defense. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Both coordinators are not from like the Texas kind of tree, which is different than when he got here because he Garrett Riley, he brought Garrett Riley along with him, and Garrett Riley, the Riley brothers have air raid roots. I mean, Lincoln Riley was a quarterback at Texas Tech, and so like obviously big time air raid there. And then Joe Gillespie was the head coach of Stephenville High School for a long time. And so before he was the DC at Tulsa and, a lot of other places, and then he was the DC at TCU, and now he's the head coach at Waco Midway High School. So like, this is a guy, and if you listen to Joe Gillespie talk, he's from Texas. So like,
Yeah.
but now you got a guy from Idaho and a guy who played at Virginia. So like, it's very different. It's
Yeah.
very intriguing, very different.
I respect it. I'm not sure if this is like an an identity thing where just like we've got to change it. Like we've got to go in a completely different direction. Um, because back to back 8-4 seasons, to some people that's a success and whatever. Uh, you're entitled to your own opinion. I think the expectation should be a little bit higher. Not saying that it's a failure. It's definitely not a bad thing. 8-4, you could be a lot worse. And I think the way this season ended and the bowl game that TCU got ended up being a minor success for sure. But it's definitely like, to me, a recognition of like, okay, we've come up a little bit short. I know TCU fans are getting a little impatient. We're going to try something new, but it also could very well work. And I think the guy that they hired with Gordon Sammis, um, again, not super familiar with the guy, but just looking at his resume and some of the bullet points that he hits home on with being able to run the football successfully. His quarterback last season only threw one interception, threw 28 touchdowns, and he's developed offensive linemen at a pretty good level for UConn. Those are all things that TCU needs to work on for next season. And so if you hit all three of those things with one guy, I think you did a job well done. What are your kind of, was there something that you were kind of implying with this hire? Like you were mentioning that you think it's interesting, or, you know, with
I
Sonny
you know I,
Dykes?
no, I just think that like I think it's kind of what you said. Like we're just trying to shake up the snow globe. See, just trying to get something else going here. Um, the I think that I don't want to say that the Kendal Briles era as the offensive coordinator was an utter failure. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think that there were definitely bright moments and the offense worked. And uh, part of the reason why TCU kind of struggled, I mean, it was a tandem effort between the offense and the defense for a good chunk of it, right? The defense definitely didn't hold up its end of the bargain, but this is a team that's built on scoring, and sometimes it just couldn't do that. So I just think it was an attempt to kind of move away from the familiar, go into the unfamiliar. And not that like what he runs is so drastically different from, it's not like he's running a wishbone. It's like he runs a offense that's traditional to a football fan. You're going to recognize it. But it's not the air raid. It's not, the veer and shoot. It's different. And so I just am intrigued that that's the route he took, and I just think that he's wanting something else, um, and recognizing kind of the pitfalls, right? Like TCU can't run, TCU can't block, can't close out games. Oh, here's this guy who's done that at a pretty high level at a place where it's hard to do that at a high level. Let's see what he can do, and I think that is uh, admirable from Sonny Dykes to recognize those flaws and to try and fix those flaws instead of pounding, grounding his feet in the ground and saying, "Hey, I'm not moving. Like we're going to do things the way we've always done them." I just think that that's pretty admirable.
Yeah, it's cool. And again, I don't know what will happen as far as offensive players entering the transfer portal for TCU. It'll be interesting to see. I have no idea. Definitely going to be conversations about Josh Hoover next season. It's I'm sure he wants. I know that there's Sonny Dyke said that he wants to come back. They're trying to, I think he said, raise the funds so he could
Yeah, that's what it
try to.
sounds like. It sounds like he has been courted already, which is illegal, but it not illegal, but against the rules.
It's
But
yeah,
uh,
it's
it
tampering.
sounds like he's been courted already, and so TC's going to have to. From what I'm hearing, in terms of like the market value of a quarterback, it's going to take $3 to $4 million ballpark to get him to stay, because that's about like the going range of quarterbacks, or at least what he could get elsewhere, right? And also, the offensive coordinator that brought him here isn't here anymore. So it's fair if he doesn't want to play in this system. I mean, but I'll just say this: turnovers have been an issue for Josh Hoover. I think he'd admit that, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes he's a little loosey goosey with the football. Joe Fagnano, the quarterback at UConn this past year, threw 1 interception under Gordon Sammis. So
It's pretty good.
take that for what you will. And it
That is
came against Air Force, and they're, really good at defense, because they defend our country. That's a bad joke.
yeah. It's that was a joke.
I actually think they're pretty bad at defense.
I have no idea. I know they throw the ball 3 times a game. That's about it. So we'll see. I mean, again, I'm not sure what the future for Josh Hoover or any of the offensive players. You just don't know in this era. You're kind of just getting every player on a 1-year deal, and from there, a player can say, "Yeah, I'm committed to TCU, whatever. I'm not leaving." Money talks. So I'm not, like I said, Josh Hoover, no ill will if he leaves, and I don't want to speculate at all because we don't know. If he comes back, great. So whatever happens, happens. Obviously, we'll talk about it. And again, the transfer portal doesn't open up till January 2nd. We were talking about this. Obviously, it should open up after the season ends, but that's out of our control. So.
Yeah, I can go on a whole rant. If you want the transfer portal to open at the end of the season, you're going to have to convince every university in America to go away from the semester system and go to the quarter system instead.
Good luck. Good luck. So, are there any final thoughts from this before we move on?
I think, obviously you cannot grade a hire. Like we're going to have to see how it goes, but all indications point to this being thumbs up.
Thumbs up indeed. Big fan. Welcome, Gordon Sammis, to Fort Worth. Once you get here, if you want to coach your bowl game, which sounds like you will, go win it and then come on over. Could be Sonny Dykes calling the plays, the Alamo Bowl. I'm excited for that game. I'm really looking forward to that matchup with USC. That'll come up here on December 30th. Could be fun to see Sonny Dykes call plays for a game.
Yeah, I was doing a little research into this yesterday. Like, when was the last time he actually called plays? And it was, I think, when he was the offensive coordinator at Arizona from 2007 to 2009. So it's been almost 16 years since he's called plays, on a consistent basis. Because when he got the job at Louisiana Tech, he fired an offensive coordinator and offloaded. He's had the same philosophy that he's had ever since he's been at TCU, which is that's. And he made a really good point in his press conference on Tuesday because he was asked about it, and that's kind of how this all kind of floated up to the surface. Was, could Sonny Dykes call plays? Was, it takes a lot of effort to be a play caller. You got to sit and study film for hours and hours and hours, and that might not be time that a head coach who's also trying to fundraise for a new roster, trying to keep people from going into the transfer portal, might not have time to do for a bowl game. So we'll see if he does it. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see him do that. Just kind of add another fun wrinkle to the game that we're already looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun matchup, but also could be really fun if Sonny Dykes has a play sheet and he's calling plays. I think it also would do pretty, this is just me maybe pushing a narrative that maybe isn't there, but maybe it would be a good thing for him to kind of be more involved in the action, like the CEO style. Maybe you get a little bit you're not fully in there. I'm not trying to accuse him of anything, but just kind of be a little bit more involved and see how that goes. And obviously he's not going to be calling plays next year. Gordon Sammis is going to be calling plays, but just for this one little one-off, can we see how it goes? And if it's not going well, let Josh Hoover or whoever's the quarterback call the plays instead, like Joe Burrow did for that one drive against whatever that team was when the Bengals, whenever his headset went out.
Yeah. Hey, that would be fun. That'd be fun. We'll see. I mean, it's a bowl game, and it's a big one for sure. And obviously, fans are really excited about it. Looking forward to it. But yeah, it could be a fun wrinkle. All right, we're gonna move away from football. Seth, there's been a lot of news going on, a lot of things happening. Oop, my mic almost fell. We're gonna do kind of a rapid fire here. Okay, we're gonna just kind of. I'm gonna just list off some stuff. We're gonna give we could give semi longer reactions to some of this, but we're just going to go through a bunch of the sports here. Okay. TCU baseball. Didn't expect to be talking about TCU baseball, right? Well, they got some bad news, Seth. Luis Rodriguez, one of their top pitchers, will miss the entire 2026 season with the torn UCL that will require Tommy John surgery. Luis Rodriguez has been with TCU for it feels like my
Forever.
my whole time since becoming a fan. Um, really
2023
unfortunate.
is the right answer to that question.
2023. Okay, so half my time as a TCU fan. Uh, really unfortunate news. Obviously, Luis Rodriguez. This is the second year in a row that TCU baseball has had a season-ending injury to one of their top pitchers. Ben Abel the year before, and now Luis Rodriguez. Your reaction to that?
Really unfortunate news. Hate it for Lewis. Hate it so much. I know how much those players work, especially in the fall, to get ready for the spring, and it just sucks that your season is cut short in December before, like, you even get into any of like the practices before the actual baseball season starts in February. It just sucks so hard, and like I really do feel bad because he was a guy that I think was going to be really integral to this pitching operation, this pitching unit, whether that be as a starter out of the pen, and also a guy like kind of a dark horse guy to potentially be drafted. And so like this really sucks for him and for the team. So just like they did last year, they're going to have to figure out something else. We'll see how that goes, but um, just knocking on wood, hoping and praying that he recovers well and that no more injuries like this happen for the Frogs.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. A guy that came out of the bullpen last year was also a starter. Has been a starter at TCU. Very versatile. Can rack up the strikeouts. Had a low uh, walk percentage last year, so it's a tough loss for sure. He's a very steady guy for Kirk Sarlos, and hoping for the best in his recovery. Really, it I hate to talk about TC baseball in December because that usually means it's not good news. So it's unfortunate that he'll have to miss the entire season. But yeah. All right. Next bit of news. TCU women's basketball. They're off this week. Well, they play on Sunday, finals and all that. We're not students. I forgot finals was happening. Just forgot. I know you're a student at UNT, so you've had finals, but I'm not a student.
I
So
kind of forgot those were happening too, though. To be quite
yeah.
honest with you.
So fair. So fair. But in between our last basketball episode, TCU played UTEP. Olivia Miles had a triple double. 7th in her career, first since I think 2011 at TCU. Your thoughts?
Love it. I don't have a lot of thoughts on this other than I love it.
Well, I was working the game, so I got to watch it. She got the rebound, like she got the points and assists pretty quickly, like in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, and then she was farming that rebound, waiting for that rebound to come. She got it on an offensive rebound. It was like
Nice.
it was a long rebound too, and she got it. Shot 5 of 8, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Also had 3 steals, only 3 turnovers. Maddie Shear had 21, knocked down 5 threes. She was on fire in a 95-40 win over UTEP. UTEP was undefeated, by the way. The level of opponents were not great. I looked at their schedule, but Frogs destroyed them, and they continue to roll as one of the top teams in the country. And Olivia Miles continues to wow me every single game. Just unbelievable stuff that she can do. Her vision on the court is miles better than anyone else.
No
On the
pun
court.
intended, I presume.
No pun intended. No pun intended. But yeah,
Yeah.
pretty.
Shout out to TCU women's basketball. Obviously, ranked in the top 10 for what seems like the 40th week in a row at this point. I feel like they've been number 8 for forever. They just have not been moved because there's no parity in women's college basketball, and no one is losing above them.
Yeah, Iowa State, the other Big 12 team, they got a win over Iowa. That was a big win a couple days ago.
So good. That's a good little basketball team too. I don't know when TCU plays them, but looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, that should be good. Okay, TCU men's basketball. split their weekend, a loss to Notre Dame at home in overtime, and a win over North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine, right? I mean,
I
would
think
have
you
loved
would
the
have
2
really
0.
loved to see them beat the Fighting Irish after that good Thanksgiving week that they had, and they had it. Like they were leading for a little while, and then went to overtime and couldn't get it done. So that's disappointing. Obviously, bouncing back at Dickies Arena, beating the Mean Green, always a good sign. But would have liked to see them kind of parlay that success that they had over Thanksgiving, where they beat Florida, they beat Wisconsin, into a win against a Notre Dame team that I don't think is anything super duper special.
Yeah, I say it's fine. Like, it could have been worse. But yes, I do agree. Would have liked to see that. Now you have 3 non-con losses. Again, one of them was against Michigan. One of them was against a really bad team, like really bad. And the other was against, you're kind of in the middle. So you have 3 losses that, kind of
And yeah,
all
I
at
think
different
that
levels.
the outlook would look so much better if that New Orleans game just did not even happen. We'll talk about this for pretty much the entire season. That's going to be the anchor to this ship all season long. It's probably worth a seed line, to be quite honest with you, if TCU makes it to the tournament. Like they might have a resume that's worth a 6 seed, but that's going to drag them down to 7 or whatever. That's just a hypothetical. I don't know how TCU will do in conference play, but um, we'll see. Obviously, you got that gauntlet that we've talked about in beginning of January coming up. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that they kind of look at this as like, hey, it was a loss on November 3rd, and they came back and beat Florida, and they maybe, obviously you can't just ignore it, but they're kind of hoping that maybe somehow that could offset it a little bit. I don't know if it will. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to ignore. It's just kind of like a, what's the word? Like what is it?
it's a
It's just
stain,
not. It's a stain. Yeah, it's like you can't.
ugly
It's
stain.
noticeable. It's noticeable,
Yes, very
but
noticeable. What, like, we're gonna do this. Like, how is New Orleans basketball doing right now? Probably
not
not very
sure.
good.
They
I think we
probably
looked at this last time.
they've probably
Um,
played 1 or 2 games since our last update. So
they're 3-7. They won. Well, this is good. You remember how I was like, hey, I think last time I told you, like last time we did this, they hadn't played a home game, and they were 2-5.
they're
They
2 and
finally
5.
played a home game against Houston Christian and lost, but then they beat Incarnate Word by 1.
You know who plays Incarnate Word next? TCU men's
Interesting. So by the
basketball.
transitive property, this game is going to be pretty close.
TCU will play Incarnate Word at home on Monday.
Alrighty. Uh, New Orleans plays at Houston tomorrow.
Oh boy. Okay. That'll be a good test. See where that loss stands. um for men's basketball, TCU men's basketball, they'll play Incarnate Word. They've got Oral Roberts, Florida A&M, and Jackson State before opening up conference play. It's coming up pretty soon. So gearing up for it. Excited for both programs to see where they stand in conference play. I feel like there was one more rapid fire I was going to hit you with.
I got nothing.
Oh, TCU soccer
Ah,
lost to Florida State in the Final Four. Got robbed.
that's
Got
what I
robbed.
saw. I saw, a little handball action.
And then Florida State ended up winning the national championship over Stanford. They scored a goal with about 4 minutes left to knock off Stanford. So
The drama in the NCAA women's soccer tournament, at least from like a
cinema.
TCU, like absolute cinema, like TCU scoring last second goals. Like even if you don't agree with, you know, you think TCU got robbed, like that's kind of like a thrilling, entertaining moment to some degree. And then Florida State scoring with 4 minutes left. It just gets you excited for the World Cup this next summer, Zion. Just gets you excited.
Yeah. I'm not a soccer fan. I'm not claiming to be, but I will tune in. And it was really fun to watch TCU women's soccer. Definitely has me more interested in the sport because of the year they had. Truly. Like, That's how fun it was. So great year, despite the loss, despite the robbery, the handball that was not
Listen,
called.
if you watch any sort of soccer, international or here in the US, you will have much more maddening moments when it comes to replay review and referees.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But
Wait till your
happy
first
for
VAR offside review where you're like, "Oh, this is maddening." This is
yeah, yeah. I'm sure that'll happen. I gotta find a club to root for so I can really get into it. Yeah, shout out Eric Bell and TCU Soccer. Had a great year, very memorable. One of the best in its actually the best in its program history. Probably. I mean, I'm
I'll
not very
co-sign that.
I'm not versed in their history, but if you make the to the Final Four for that's the only time you've done it, I'd say that's probably your best. So, all right, that's our TCU rapid fire. We got through that. I think that's it.
Volleyball.
Yes, volleyball beat SFA in the first round of the tournament in a sweep, lost in 4 sets to Texas A&M. It's the fourth year in a row that they've won a first round tournament game, and also the fourth year in a row that they've lost in the second round. Jason Williams is still a great coach. He's tremendous. I mean, revitalized the program. Unfortunate they ran into a really good A&M team.
You would hope, kind of get over that plateau in year 5. So we'll see about that. I'm not trying to bag on the volleyball team, but
No, I agree. I think that's definitely the expectation. They've got a lot of returners. Some of their best offensive players are coming back. They're losing Sarah Sylvester, who's
yeah,
great defensively,
basketball
but
legend Sarah Sylvester.
yeah, they've got some good outside hitters returning next year, so I think they can definitely do it. TC basketball legend, what a crazy year that was, just insane. But all right, that'll finish things up here for this episode, talking about just about every TCU sport imaginable, but most importantly, the main topic, Kendal Briles leaving for South Carolina and Gordon Sammis, a new offensive coordinator at TCU. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. Make sure to go follow Seth and I on Twitter to get the latest updates on episodes dropping and all TCU related news. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, go Frogs.